Were you raised by a mom who most likely in all reality secretly didn't like being a mother? This topic might hit a little close to home for some of you. If you've ever had that weird feeling like your mom didn't exactly love raising you, yeah, it's a real thing and it doesn't make you bad for noticing it. Here are 11 signs that you were raised by a mom who secretly didn't like being a mom. And before we get into it, just know, if this was your experience, there's nothing wrong with you. So let's unpack it. 1. You felt lonely, even in her presence. This one cuts deep. You'd be in the same room, maybe even doing something together, and you'd still feel completely invisible. Your mom may have been physically present, but emotionally, she was completely absent. She'd checked out. And when you're a kid, you don't call that emotional neglect. You just think there must be something wrong with you, that you must be unlovable. But here's the truth. You weren't. Unmet emotional needs that spark feelings of isolation and loneliness growing up can feel like a personal attack. But whether you are dealing with a narcissistic parent or even a mom who secretly just didn't like being a parent, these emotional gaps have nothing to do with any kind of faults of the children. Rather, it's typically a parent's insecurity, a mental illness, chronic stress, or some other situational struggle that fuels their disconnect and resentment. 2. She demonized your emotions. Did you ever get told that you're too sensitive or too much? That crying is traumatic? I mean, I was once told by my father, so not my mother, but hear me out, that I needed to respect him and not cry in front of him. And that really sticks with a kid, so I imagine that growing up with a mom who dismisses your emotions is just as hard as a dad who dismisses your emotions. You still need that connection from them. What it means is that you learned early on that feelings were inconvenient, especially yours. And that makes it really hard to open up as an adult. It's possible that since your emotional needs weren't met, you became a people pleaser and an insecure adult, and that you maybe didn't develop self-awareness, self-esteem, or vulnerability. You view your needs as a burden rather than a requirement. 3. She didn't care to learn about your interests. So for women, there's this thing that happens in the face of motherhood. It's experiencing personal identity erasure. That's losing time, energy, and the space to pursue your own interests and have an identity outside of motherhood. Moms seem to lose who they are. But that sometimes leaves a mom feeling resentful of her kids, and she doesn't take the time to invest in building her children's personal identities. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch of bad things. If she secretly despises her own identity erasure, she may cope by sabotaging her child's identity. Whether you were into bugs, drawing, anime, or baking even weird experimental cakes, she just didn't care. She didn't ask or engage, and she maybe even rolled her eyes at you. And that sucks, because when your interests get brushed off like that, it sends a loud message. You don't matter, and your identity isn't important. The truth is, her identity and your identity both matter, and it's not fair of her to take out her identity erasure on you. 4. She was overly critical of you. You believed you couldn't do anything right. Even when you did something good, there was just always something to nitpick. It's not about just being a strict parent, because this kind of constant criticism turns into a voice in your head that follows you into adulthood. That perfectionist urge or that fear of failing, yeah, it probably started there, and now you're facing heightened rates of depression and anxiety, feeling subjected to judgment and criticism for expressing your needs, and a belief that you need to hide your personal identity. Kids who are exposed to these highly critical parenting styles are subjected to unrealistic expectations and judgments from parents, and they tend to adopt harmful perfectionist attitudes that follow them into adulthood. 5. She used you as a scapegoat for her own mistakes. The mom who secretly didn't like being a mom was probably an expert at guilt-tripping behaviors, which she used as a means to wield control over her children's lives. Did you ever feel like you were the reason that your mom was stressed, unhappy, overwhelmed, even though you were literally just existing, and she's the reason that you exist in the first place? That's scapegoating. It's when a parent can't own their stuff, so they make their kid carry it. It's playing the blame game and shifting the responsibility for her unhappiness, anxiety, or lack of identity onto you. This behavior can leave you walking on eggshells your whole life, constantly trying to fix something that was never yours to fix in the first place. 6. She overstepped your boundaries. Boundaries? What boundaries? These moms don't even know what the word means when it comes to other people, and you were constantly feeling disrespected. She'd go through your stuff, talk over you, give advice you didn't ask for, and then get mad when you set a limit. Like, Mom, don't read my diary. That's personal. Moms like this expect you to respect their space, but they absolutely will not respect yours. Children of these mothers often become emotionally unregulated and anxious, falling into a constant state of fight or flight that was ultimately regulated by their mother's comfort and happiness. And that makes learning to set boundaries as an adult really hard. 7. She intentionally withheld affection and praise. Your childhood was probably transactional if you were raised by a mom who secretly didn't like being a mom. You might not have even realized it growing up, but looking back, you noticed that the hugs were rare, the compliments conditional, and love felt earned, not given. There was definitely some subtle emotional neglect. She may have been subtle with her disciplinary measures, using reward punishment systems, or she may have even been more extreme and used emotional manipulation. That emotional manipulation has severe consequences if left unchecked for children. It can lead to an adult version of you that only feels valuable when you're achieving something, helping someone, or people-pleasing your way to approval and close relationships. Yeah, those are seen as causes of stress, so these adults avoid them altogether. 8. She subtly sabotaged your success. Maybe your mom rolled her eyes when you got excited about something, or made backhanded comments like, "Must be nice to have all that free time," or even said phrases like, "I could have done that if I didn't have kids," or "You're not good enough to do that." The subtle shaming and condemnation of one's own kids comes from spite, resentment, or jealousy. This is pretty narcissistic behavior, and it really affects a child's self-esteem. These kids learn to keep excitement and joy to themselves. They don't feel like they can share it with their mother. Some moms don't celebrate their children's wins. They compete with their kids. And that low-key resentment, it sticks. 9. She reminded everyone of her success before kids. Oh, those pre-kid glory days. I am not gonna lie here, sometimes I do talk about what I was like prior to adding mom to my list of roles in life. My oldest sometimes says I like to bring up my master's degree when speaking with them. Yeah, Mom suffered through school, and I was pregnant with you when I graduated. So child, you were a part of that accomplishment. It's all in fun though. But when a mom starts talking about how life could have been better if she hadn't had kids, or that she could have been something without children, yeah, that's not a passing comment. She's opening up a wound. And when you hear it often enough, it makes you feel like your very existence is a burden, and like you ruined something just by being born, even though you never asked to be born. As an adult, it's easier to recognize this resentment that sparks envious mothers to yearn for a validation of a past version of themselves. She probably feels left behind, but still, that's not a good excuse to take out the loss of identity on your children and continue living in the past. 10. She picked favorites between your siblings. If you were the difficult one, and your sibling could do no wrong, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You were disregarded and dismissed in favor of the child that more closely aligned with her needs, desires, and aspirations. It created this silent competition where you were constantly trying to earn her love. And even now, you might still feel like you're never enough. According to the American Psychological Association, parental favoritism isn't a myth. It's actually real and pretty common. But acting on that favoritism, that's something parents who resent their children or who dislike being a parent do. 11. She was jealous of your other parental bonds. If you were closer to your dad or a grandparent or literally anyone else, I don't know, a teacher, a neighbor, and she seemed annoyed by it or tried to come between you, well, that's not normal. This mother, who struggled to embrace parenthood, resented you for receiving the unconditional love she wasn't willing to provide. That's emotional manipulation. Moms who don't enjoy parenting sometimes view love as a power struggle, not something freely given. Children should never have to pick a side when it comes to family relationships. If any of this resonated with you, first of all, I'm sorry, you didn't deserve that. And no, you're not imagining it, and you're not crazy for feeling like something was off while you were growing up. Moms are human, and sometimes they carry pain that they don't know how to handle. But if their pain turned into your trauma, it's okay to name it. And it's actually important to do so because recognizing it is the first step toward healing. You're allowed to grieve the mom that you wish you had while still healing the version of you that survived the mom you did. Let us know if you're working through this as an adult or if you've found a helpful way to break the cycle. And if you're a parent now and you're trying to do things differently, trust me, you're doing great. Thanks for watching YourTango. Like, subscribe, be kind to yourself, and I'll see you next time.